Today's horror story comes from Christy, and this story dates back to a long time ago. It's actually about her grandmother. Her family used to shift places a lot because of her grandfather's job, as he had to travel frequently across India. One such move took them to a new government quarter. But something happened there with her grandmother, something that changed her life forever. After that incident, her grandmother could never look at windows the same way again. Hello, my name is Kailash, and I'm from a small village in Assam. The village is about 120 kilometers from Guwahati. The incident I'm going to share actually happened to my mother when she was around 12 or 13 years old, and her younger brother, my uncle, was only about 6 or 7 years old. This took place in 1994. At the time, my maternal grandparents, my mom, my uncle, and my mom's uncle were all living together. My grandfather was in the Assam police, and due to the nature of his job, he was frequently transferred to different places. They were given only a week's notice to shift to their new posting in Sivasagar, which made everything extremely stressful, especially because my grandmother was 5 to 6 months pregnant at the time. Still, after managing everything in a rush, the entire family finally shifted to the new place after a week. The area was beautiful, and everyone was excited to start a new life there. But little did they know that everything was about to change after that night. No one could have imagined what was coming. By the time my mom's family reached Sivasagar, it was already 9 p.m. The government quarter they were allotted wasn't ready yet. Everyone was exhausted from the travel, and my grandmother had started feeling unwell. So my grandfather went to the higher authorities to ask about temporary accommodations. In response, the authorities gave them a different quarter and assured them that their permanent one would be ready in a few days. The problem was, this temporary quarter was more like a hut made of bamboo and mud with no electricity. Despite the discomfort, everyone reluctantly agreed to stay there due to exhaustion. They quickly set up beds and went to sleep. Around 2 a.m., my grandmother woke up to use the restroom. Normally, she wasn't scared of the dark or being alone. But that night, perhaps due to the unfamiliar surroundings or because the bathroom was located outside, she felt uneasy. She tried to wake her brother, my mom's uncle, but he was a deep sleeper and wouldn't wake up. After several failed attempts, she decided to go alone. There was a large mango tree outside the bathroom that gleamed under the moonlight. After using the restroom as my grandmother walked back, she suddenly felt very hot, so she laid down on the opposite side of the bed. Just as she began to fall asleep, a loud noise startled her like a heavy object had fallen. Terrified, she woke up my grandfather and told him about it. He tried to comfort her, suggesting it might have been a cat knocking something over. She accepted his explanation and tried to sleep again. But 10 minutes later, a similar noise came again, only louder. This time, everyone woke up. It was so loud that they feared it might be a thief. My grandfather and his brother went outside to investigate. They checked every corner but found no one, nor any object that could have made that loud noise. It was unsettling. No signs of anyone, and nothing was out of place. Eventually, the house fell quiet again, but suddenly they began to hear footsteps outside as if someone wearing slippers was walking on the grass. Another sound followed, this time like someone wearing heels walking on the veranda. My mom and uncle were especially frightened. My grandmother, despite being scared herself, tried to comfort them and lull them to sleep. Eventually, everyone fell asleep, except her. She felt a deep unease and couldn't rest, so she just lay there, staring out the window. That's when she saw a large shadow of a hand outside the window. It cast over her face. Then suddenly she felt like someone was trying to suffocate her. She tried screaming, but no sound came out. She struggled silently until my grandfather heard her muffled cries and woke up. He rushed to her side, and only then was she able to breathe again. After calming her down, he checked the surroundings. Nothing. He also checked on her brother, who was fast asleep in his room. But things didn't get better. Later that night, when things had quieted down, she heard the footsteps again, this time, approaching their room. The steps stopped right at the door. Suddenly, there was a loud bang on the window, like someone had slammed their hand against it. My grandmother's body went completely stiff. She couldn't even speak. Since there was no electricity, she had placed a few lamps outside. In the dim light, she could see the shadow of a human figure slowly approaching the room. She wanted to scream, but couldn't. The shadow entered the room, slowly. It appeared to be a woman. The shadow stopped in a corner of the room, turned slowly, and my grandmother saw her face. It was horrifying. The woman's face was distorted, almost completely destroyed, with bloodstains all over. Seeing that face, my grandmother finally screamed. But by the time anyone got to her, she had passed out. My grandfather tried to wake her, and when she wouldn't respond, they rushed her to the hospital. But after all the tests, the doctors found nothing wrong and sent her home. My grandfather was shaken and blamed himself for not waking up sooner. The next morning, when my grandmother finally woke, she was extremely weak. She took a shower and prayed, hoping things would get better, but she was wrong. The same thing happened again the following night, and then every night after that. Her health began to deteriorate rapidly. She became extremely weak. Eventually, my grandfather was so desperate that he pleaded with the authorities to move them immediately into their original allotted quarter. Though initially hesitant, once he explained the entire situation, they agreed. The moment their new quarter was ready, the family shifted, and by God's grace, they never experienced anything strange again. Later, when my grandmother asked the neighbors about that house, she learned something chilling. The house had previously been allotted to a female constable who had taken her own life there. No one knows why she did it. Some people speculated that since my grandmother was pregnant at the time, the soul was being drawn to her, possibly feeding off her energy. That's why she was being affected the most. After hearing this, my grandmother was so terrified that she even stopped walking past that house. Even though all this happened years ago, to this day, my mother and uncle are still haunted by the memory of that experience. Unfortunately, my grandparents are no longer alive, but I'm grateful my mother shared this story with me and thankful that after that horrible night, my grandmother never had to suffer again. Well, that's it for this week's video. I hope you all liked it.